In today's math lesson, we're going to graph solutions to advanced linear inequalities. A couple of things to remember very quickly. When you're graphing, you have to know if you're using an open dot versus a closed dot, and also if you need to shade to the right or if you need to shade to the left. When you're solving, you will have to remember when to flip the greater than or less than symbol. Example 1. We're going to solve the inequality and then graph its solution where 5 times the quantity of n minus 4 is less than negative 10. All right, remembering how to solve a linear inequality from our previous lesson, we know that we're treating our greater than or less than symbols just like you would an equal sign. The only catch is if you divide by a negative. Let's get started. We have parentheses and a 5 in front of them. So let's get rid of that 5 by dividing it on both sides of the river. The whole purpose of that was to get rid of those 5s, and as a result, we no longer need the parentheses that are around the n minus 4, because there's no quantity being affected by that 5. We do not have to turn or flip the inequality symbol. It is still a less than, because our 5 was positive. So negative 10 divided by a positive 5, that is negative 2. Great. Now to finish this off, we're going to get rid of the minus 4. And we do that by adding 4 to both sides of your river. That cancels out the 4s on the left side of your river, leaving you with n less than negative 2 plus 4. Well, that makes positive 2. Okay, we've done the hard work. Now we need to graph it. So our point of interest, our value of interest, is a 2. And we know that with our symbol being a less than, that means open dot. And since it is a less than, we are going to shade to the left, all the way out. And there you go. Example 2. We're going to solve the inequality and graph its solution where 4 times the quantity of r minus 3 plus 3 is less than or equal to negative 1. Let's get solving. Hey, so we have two numbers outside of the parentheses on the same side of the river as our variable. So you know from previous lessons that we have to get rid of the one that is adding or subtracting first. That's our order of operations, and we do its opposite. So it was adding, now it is subtracting. And what you do on one side of the river, you do to the other. And we did that to get rid of the plus 3. So negative 1 minus 3 more, well, that's negative 4, okay? And now we are going to get rid of the 4 that is in front of the parentheses with our variable r minus 3. So how do we get rid of a number in front of parentheses? We learned in previous lessons, divide. And what you do on one side of the river, yep, you're still doing that to the other side of the river. That leaves us with r minus 3 is less than or equal to negative 4 divided by 4. That's a negative 1. All right, take a moment. Why did I not turn the inequality symbol? Because that green 4 that we divided with was positive. So I had to keep the symbol as it was. All right, let's finish this off. So we're going to finally, last but not least, add 3 to both sides of the river so that the 3's on the left cancel out, leaving you with r is less than or equal to negative 1 plus 3. Well, that is a positive 2. All right. Yay. Now that we've done the hard work, let's go draw our graph. So our point of interest is a positive 2. Since this happens to be a less than or equal to, we know that our point, our dot, is going to be a closed solid dot. And again, since this is a less than, we are going to shade all the way out to the left. And there you go. In example 3, we're going to solve the inequality and graph the solution where we have 10 times the quantity of g plus 2 plus 8 is greater than or equal to negative 2. Let's start solving. I've got two numbers outside of the parentheses, so we get rid of the one that is adding first by doing its opposite. So let's subtract 8 on both sides of the river so that those 8s on the left will cancel out, leaving us with 10 times the quantity of g plus 2 is greater than or equal to negative 2 minus 8 more. Well, that is negative 10. Now we can get rid of our 10 that's in front of the parentheses by dividing it off. And what you do on one side of the river, you definitely still do to the other. So now that we have our 10s on the left canceled out, we have g plus 2 still greater than or equal to a negative 1. And we know that it is greater than or equal because this 10 in green is positive. So we divide it by a positive number, so my inequality does not change at all. All right, let's finish this off by getting rid of that 2 by doing its opposite so that the 2's on the left side of the river cancel out, leaving me with g greater than or equal to negative 1 minus 2 more, which is negative 3. All right, let's go ahead and graph. Our point of interest is at negative 3. Since our point of interest is a greater than or equal to, we know that we are going to have a closed solid dot at negative 3. And because this is a greater than or equal to, we are going to shade all the way to the right. And there you go. Example 4. We're going to solve the inequality and graph its solution where we are given the quantity of m minus 1 over 2 is less than 1. Problems that are set up like this usually mess with people's heads, so I thought it'd be a good one to go over. Since we have a binomial at the numerator of our fraction, we have to get rid of the fraction first and foremost. So the 2 is currently dividing. How do you get rid of something that's dividing? You multiply it, because what you do on one side of the river, you also have to do on the other side of the river, allowing our 2's on the left to cancel out. We now have m minus 1 is less than the product of 1 and 2, which is 2. We did not turn our inequality symbol because we multiplied by a positive number. Let's finish this off by getting rid of your minus 1, and we can do that by adding 1 on both sides of the river, allowing the ones on the left to cancel out, leaving us with m is less than the sum of 2 and 1, which is 3. All right, the hard work is done. Our point of interest is the number, the value 3. With our symbol being only purely a less than, we know that we are going to have an open dot because there's no bar underneath of it. And because it is a less than, we also know that we are shading all the way out to the left. And there you go. On our 5th and final example, we are going to solve the inequality and graph the solution of 2 greater than or equal to the quantity of j plus 8, all divided by negative 5. So our variable is here on the right side of the river. And yes, that messes with people's heads, but I don't want it to mess with yours. So let's practice how to deal with it. Okay, we have a binomial on top of our fraction. So that means we have to multiply first to get rid of the fraction. And this is a negative 5 that we are multiplying by. So let's do that on both sides of the river, causing the negative 5's on the right side to cancel out, leaving us with negative 5 times a positive 2, that is negative 10. But because we multiplied by a negative value, that means our inequality is going to turn. It's going to face the other direction. So negative 10 is now less than or equal to j plus 8. Let's finish this off by subtracting over that 8 and getting rid of it. And what you do on one side of the river, you know you have to do that on both sides of the river. Negative 10 minus 8 is negative 18, less than or equal to j. So while this is true, it's a little bit odd to have to graph with this. So another way to write this would be to flip it so that your j is on the left, where we usually like it to be, and negative 18, your number, is on the right. But remember, if you're going to flip this around, you have to flip the inequality symbol also. Remembering that from elementary, the monster eats the bigger thing, and right now this monster is eating the j. So it will still have to eat the j when I go ahead and turn this around to graph it. Both of these mean the exact same thing. They are both correct, but this might be easier to graph in your brain. It's a little bit more like what we're used to. And now we know our point of interest is at negative 18. And since our symbol is a greater than or equal to, we know that our point will be a closed solid dot because of the or equal to. And since it is a greater than, we are going to shade all the way to the right as far as our graph will let us. And there you go.